Manchester City roll past Brentford 2-0 in the League Cup. Jules, Ryan Shirky keeps getting better. Wasn't he supposed to be immature and a little as John Texter called him? And
No, not anymore. No, I mean, we saw
But
last
John
season.
Texter said he was.
Not he, well, he said his people around him. But last season already, we saw a massive improvement. I think Paulo Fonseca had a massive positive influence on Ryan Shirky's, not so much personality, but more in cleaning up his game at some point, like sometimes, because he was maybe doing a bit of too much of the dribbling and not being efficient enough or not always making the right decision. So for that, he's worked a lot on it, even before coming to City and before working with Pep. I guess now when you work with this squad and this manager, it helps you, even if Guardiola was not happy with the Rabona assist the other day, which you can understand in a way. I think Shirky's got such an incredible, pure and rare talent as a footballer that the more freedom you give him, the better it will be.
Yeah, obviously we should point out Shadow Squad, no Holland, no defender. Kusanov showing again that all his limitations. But they're there. This is their trophy. This is the one that they almost always win. Newcastle also advanced, beating Fulham 2-1 with a dramatic late goal from local hero Lewis Miley. They waited 70 years for a trophy before winning one last March.
Yeah.
Are they like bosses? Are they going to get two in a row now?
Let's see. I mean, it helps them when they play at home because they won, obviously, this run at home, the last run against Tottenham at home as well, because we know away from home is far more difficult for them, certainly domestically. And unfortunately, the semi-final is home and away ties, so they will have to go and play at home at some point against Manchester City at the Etihad. So I don't know if they'll make the final, but in a team that lost Livramento to injury, which I think is really bad news considering Burn is already out as well. A team where there was some rotation up front, especially. I didn't think that was one great performance from them, especially on the back of the derby where they were really bad and where Bruno Guimaraes was very unhappy with the attitude of the team. So they will need to do more than that if they want to beat City over two legs.
I think this speaks volumes of also priorities for Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
you leave Anthony Gordon on the bench. Nice to see Johan Wissa finally
and scoring.
Finally score. This tells you that we need to get into the Champions League or come close. We need to succeed in the Champions League. This is not by no means a priority, as the way it might have been last year when it was so important to win a trophy.
Sure. Chelsea also advanced as they win 3-0 away at Cardiff. Gab, this was far from comfortable, though.
No, and you know what? Manesca said before the game, we have to be careful because, Cardiff are top of the league in League One, by the way. And you're coached by this guy with a weird name who worked with Man City, or worked with Manesca Man City, apparently.
Yeah.
All these things I find out thanks to the League Cup about lower league football.
Exactly, it's great.
I thought Cardiff played really well. They played with more intensity. They played with more drives. And I think this is a game where, like, if you're a scrub and Manesca puts you in, you have to show that you belong. And I'm sorry, in this game, when you play Mark Guiu, and he doesn't show you anything, I can only conclude, Mark Guiu, this is your level, Cardiff, right? Why should Manesca change his mind about you and give you more minutes? Tyreek George, who I normally like, also had a rough game. He had to bring in the grown-ups later on, Garnacho scoring, and they win 3-1, and they moved on. And at least Manesca didn't say after the game that someone is not supporting me. Let's rewind all the way back to Monday, Jules. Manchester United and Bournemouth battle to a wild 4-4 draw as Senna Lemons makes a key last-ditch stop from little David Brooks. Was this a car crash of a game, or was this quality entertainment only in the Premier League?
No, I think a bit of both. But two teams that play chaos football.
But one is by design, the other one is...
No, I really start to think that that's also what Amorim wants, because otherwise they would do something. But for a year now, he's been in charge. Nothing has changed in terms of controlled games. His teams can't control anything. They were so exposed again and open in this game, even when they took the lead 3 times. 3 times in your own stadium. And yet, every time you let a team that is very similar to you, because that's all, they also thrive in chaos. But I don't think it's good enough from a Manchester United point of view. So it's a point. I guess you're happier if you're Bournemouth because you came back from 3-2 down, from 4-3 to 4-4 with that Krupi Junior goal late. But if you're, I don't know. I really don't understand how Amorim can watch those matches again and not do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why they are one of the best teams after first halves and one of the worst teams in second halves, because they have absolutely no control. It's not just they don't have any control. They've got no idea what to do when they're leading a game.
Right? It's harsh words. Tell us how you really think.
Bruno Fernandes he's heard that the club wanted to move on from him in the summer and that he has it in his head.
Yeah, so this is an interview I think he gave like a month ago, but it was only released more recently. He said that the club wanted him to move on in the summer, the Saudi offer, blah, blah, blah. And it really bothered him. The club wanted to get rid of him. He also signed a contract extension before, which to me made little sense of the timing of that. But he said that it was Amorim who said he wanted him to stay. And he said, well, because I want you to stay. Like, if this is true, it's one of two things. Either Amorim's being a nice guy here, kind of like maybe is with Salah. Like, hey, we want you to stay. Or I would seriously question. Because from a team building perspective, for what Amorim wants to do, you do not want Bruno Fernandes there. You want Bruno Fernandes' money and the money you get from him and the salary slot to buy the players you need to build something, right? I mean, I think this much is pretty much obvious, especially at Bruno Fernandes' age. So you sacrifice your best player for an enormous amount of money, and you put the pieces in place that will hopefully help you grow. But what strikes me is he also said, and this is slightly underreported, I think, he says, I always give my maximum, and no fault there. He undoubtedly does. Then you look around and you see players who don't value the club as much as you do and who won't defend the club as much. That makes you sad. I don't know who he's talking about at the club, but people will speculate. I think these are heavy words from a guy who, while he's there, is Manchester United's most important player, Jules.
Yeah, but you saw at the end of the game on the pitch, he was very unhappy with clearly some things that some of the players have done on the pitch. You know, he on the free kick scored by Tavernier, for example, he tells very, very obvious, tells the goalkeeper the ball is going to go there, make sure that you're on that side, and Lamens get beaten. The way they concede that fourth goal is unacceptable. And I think if you're someone like Bruno, who probably has his part of responsibility, especially playing so deep, which is not really his best position. But
that's where Amorim tells him to play, presumably.
I mean, but that's the only place he can play, really, because they're too short in that midfield area. It's not ideal, but that's the only thing they can do. You must be really frustrated, and then that's what happens. Then you start saying things that you might regret one day or something.
More Chelsea, more Abramovich. Remember the $2.5 billion that Clear Lake paid for the club more than 3 years ago, and which was supposed to go to victims of the war in Ukraine, but is instead still sitting in a bank account accruing interest? Yeah, this story hasn't got away, Jules.
No.
But now, none other than the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who's a very menacing figure, has ordered Abramovich to release his money, or he will take legal action.
Yes, that's the big news of the week, which you've been asked for many, many months now, saying like, what is that money still sat in that account and not being used to help people victims of the war and all of that, because that's a lot of money, £2.5 billion, obviously. So hopefully, could this resolve it, or do you don't think it's hard enough, strong enough?
Honestly, oh, dude, it reminds me of you know how the joke is cops in this country, most of them don't carry guns. And so if you commit a crime, they'll say stop, or I'll say stop again. This is what it feels like. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
The whole reason you forced him to sell the club is you put him under sanction. He worked out a deal with you about the $2.5 billion in Ukraine. You couldn't find lawyers competent enough to write this down in an actual contract where you force the money. Or maybe you get Clear Lake to say, hey, Clear Lake, instead of paying Abramovich the money, put it in this escrow account, pay it to us. You couldn't, nobody ever thought of this. And then the other thing is, he's under sanction, but for 3 years, you don't take any legal action against him?
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a freaking joke.